Hey, everybody. So, we've been learning about the government. We've been talking about how it started with the Declaration and breaking free from England and becoming our own country. Then we talked about the Articles of Confederation, which was the first plan for government in the United States. And so, I have a picture kind of here of the Articles of Confederation, what it would have looked like. And remember how we talked about it really wasn't a very successful kind of a thing. So, here are some political cartoons that kind of show that. And one of the questions in the notes was, what were the problems with the Articles of Confederation? And this shows, these guys are saying no president, no executive agencies, no judiciary, no tax base, no army funding, no navy funding, weak foreign policy, no trade policy. What were we thinking? And if you see the little Articles of Confederation guy down here, he says, it wasn't all bad though. So, those are some of the things that we read about, and then some other things that made them just so bad. And so here's another political cartoon. It's a ship, and the sail says Articles of Confederation, and the waves that are attacking it are all the things that were wrong with it. So you have no power to collect taxes, and no power to do different things, no treaty to make treaties, etc. So you've got a sinking ship, basically. It's a ship that's no good. And so what comes next is the Constitution. And we talked about the Constitutional Convention, where delegates got together. Delegates are just people that represent different states, and they wrote the Constitution. All right. Some of the important figures that were helping at the Constitutional Convention, George Washington was one. Okay. He basically presided over everybody. He was kind of in control of things. He didn't really do a lot of debating. He left that for some other people. James Madison in the middle basically wrote a document that was the model for the Constitution. And then we have Governor Morris. Remember, governor is not his title. He's not a governor of a state. His name is governor. It'd be kind of like my mom naming me Queen Mickey or something like that, because Queen would actually be my name, but it's not. So there I go. Bummer. So anyway, what do you need to know about Governor Morris? Governor Morris gave 173 speeches during the Constitutional Convention. He was very passionate about what he thought needed to be in there. And actually, what he thought it should be is that the power of the country should be in the hands of a small, privileged ruling class. So the people that were the wealthiest, the most privileged people, he thought those are the people that should be in charge. And of course, that's not actually what happened, thank goodness, but that's what he wanted at first. He is actually the one who wrote the Constitution. It's kind of crazy because if you ask anybody who Governor Morris is, they probably couldn't tell you. But he's actually the guy that wrote most of the Constitution. So he's kind of an important dude, I guess you could say, huh? All right, so let's talk about some paintings. I love a good painting about history. This first one is by Howard Chandler Christie, and it's called Signing the Constitution. Okay, so what you need to know, there were 73 delegates appointed to the Constitutional Convention, but 18 of them declined. They did not come. They were like, we're not in it. Okay, so only 39 of the 55 delegates who were actually at the convention are pictured in this painting. And so here's the reason why some of them aren't in there. 3 did not sign the Constitution. They were at the convention, but they actually didn't sign it, so he left them out of the picture. That was 2 guys from Virginia, Edmund Randolph and George Mason, and a guy from Massachusetts, Elbridge Gerry. All right. There was also 13 delegates who left the Constitutional Convention early for whatever reason, and so he didn't include them either. So, there you go. Better stay until the end or else you're out of the painting. The next painting is Louis Glanzmann's, and it's called The Signing of the Constitution. Now, notice that the color is a lot different, and actually the color is probably more accurate than it was in the previous painting. Also, the details of the men's faces are more accurate as well. So something they stress, they don't have anything really on the walls, if you notice, but there's a lot of papers laying around. So the artist wanted to convey the emphasis on the process of writing the Constitution and how important that was, rather than the beautiful things on the wall or whatever like that. If you look, you can see George Washington in the center. He's standing back there in black. Notice, you may or may not be able to notice on your screen, but the windows are covered. This was a very secretive meeting. They didn't want people knowing what was going on in there. And so there is that. The next thing we're going to talk about is Independence Hall. Okay, Independence Hall we've talked about a little before. We saw in our book the other day in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay, This is considered the birthplace of the United States. Why? Because the Declaration and the Constitution were written there. I'd say it's a pretty darn important place. Okay, some fun facts about the Independence Hall is that at one time in the city's history, the basement was being used as the local dog pound. Kind of terrible, in my opinion, as a history lover, to put a dog pound in the birthplace of the country. Luckily, that's not what's going on today. Okay, something else that would go on in Philadelphia back in the day when they were writing those documents is Ben Franklin. Now, we've heard about Ben Franklin. He's kind of an all-around interesting fella. But one of the things that he would do would be while he's sitting in his seat, and he always sat on the aisle seat, so he was right by where people walk by, he sometimes would trip folks. He's kind of a little honorary to have to say. Okay. You should also know that the Independence Hall was built from 1732 to 1753. So it took 21 years, if I'm doing my math right, to get that thing built. Actually, yeah, 21 years. Look at me go. Tell Mrs. Steinbach how awesome I am. If you continue on, we'll talk about the Bill of Rights. So here's the deal. They had the Constitution written, but a lot of people weren't confident in it being the only document for the country. And they said, we need a Bill of Rights. Okay? A Bill of Rights is going to list all of the things that the people of America have rights for. So this would include things like the right to free speech, the right to freedom of religion, the right to freedom of press. And we're going to be talking about those things in the next lessons as the week goes on. So you'll get a whole bunch of information about what's in the Bill of Rights. You should know that the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. So the first 10 things that they added. There's actually 27 amendments today. 26 of them are still in effect. Okay? I think we talked about that on Constitution Day, I'm pretty sure. All right, so James Madison comes up again. Okay, he is basically the one who got the Bill of Rights to go through. And in December of 1791, they became a part of the Constitution officially. Okay, so James Madison, very important guy, doing all of the work with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Okay, and here's a little picture, and again, this will make more sense next week, that shows the first 10 amendments. At the top left, it talks about the First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech. Freedom of press, which is the freedom of the newspapers to print things, the freedom to assemble, the freedom to petition, the freedom of religion, things like that. A lot of you are familiar with the second one, which is the right to bear arms. That's a pretty big one around here. There's, like I said, there's 10 of them. We'll talk about them next week, but if you want to look ahead, you can. It's up to you. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is the states. This is kind of a neat map that ratified the Constitution. If you remember in our reading before, we talked about the word ratify meaning to approve. So these are the states in the order that they ratified or approved the Constitution. So first started with Delaware. Okay, Delaware was in December of 1787. The last state of the states that were actually states at the time to ratify the Constitution was Rhode Island, and that was May 29th of 1790. Okay, and if you look on the map, you can see those states in orange. It's kind of interesting. Also on the map, it shows places that are not officially states yet, but are part of the United States, and those are in blue. They're considered territories at the time. Okay. The next thing we've learned about so far for our government unit is the three branches of government. And kind of the really important things you need to remember are you've got three branches. Okay, three branches make your government a lot more stable than just one branch, one person or group being in charge. You've got the legislative branch, which makes the laws. That is Congress, which is made of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Okay, the executive branch is the next branch. That is made up of the president, the vice president, his cabinet. When we talk about cabinet, we're not talking about the things that are in your kitchen, like under your counter, not cabinets. No, cabinet members are people that are in charge of different parts of pieces or things. So, for example, there is a secretary of the Treasury who is in charge of money and giving basically advice to the president who makes decisions about that. Or there's a secretary of defense. Okay, we didn't always have the secretary of defense because we didn't have a need for that. But they've added cabinet members as they've gone throughout the years. Okay, the last branch is the judicial branch, and when we think of that, we think of judges. Okay. Judicial branch interprets the laws. So they use the Constitution to base their decisions on. We think about the courts when we talk about the judicial branch. The Supreme Court is the highest authority in the judicial branch. The last thing, which is going to be the next thing you learn about today, is the Constitution's checks and balances. Okay, we've talked a little bit about it with our three branches, but basically the checks and balances make sure that no one branch becomes too powerful and make sure that things stay balanced. So we talked about how the president is electing or has selected someone to run for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's open spot in the Supreme Court. Ruth passed away, so they need a ninth judge to fill her spot. So the president will nominate this person. And then what is going to happen is she is going to go in front of the Congress and they're going to question her and question her and question her and decide if they think that she is suitable for a Supreme Court justice. If they don't, she will not be put in the Supreme Court. If they do, then she will fill that ninth spot. Okay, so that is a way for no one branch to become too powerful. The president can't just make decisions without the Congress approving them. And if the Congress and president make some decisions that aren't really constitutional, the Supreme Court can come in and say, whoa, whoa, no, you can't. So everybody's checking each other. That's why on the screen you see the pictures of the arrows going back and forth. Okay, so we're kind of done with our review over the Constitution and the Declaration and all of those things. So what I'm going to give you to do is a Kahoot. All right, so the next thing that goes with this part of the lesson, the review, is a Kahoot. Play it, see how you do. Hopefully you'll get most of them correct. Take your time. I don't believe I'm going to have it timed, so you don't have to worry about rushing. You're not playing against anybody else, just yourself. So good luck, do the best you can, and have a great day.